Please go ahead.
Yes, sir. Good evening and warm welcome. ಎಲ್ರಿಗೂ ನಮಸ್ಕಾರ. ಈ ಸಂಭಾಷಣೆ ಕಾರ್ಯಕ್ರಮದ 32ನೇ ಎಪಿಸೋಡ್, 32nd successful episode, marching towards 52nd. That is almost 1 year. In March 14th, we'll be completing 1 year. So today we are highly privileged and very, very elated to invite a very eminent luminary, Professor Dr. T.R. Subramanya, who is the Dean of School of Legal Studies, CMR University, Bengaluru. And he has multi-various feathers on his cap. Today's topic on which he is going to deliver his speech and also interact with us is on the effect of toxic waste on environment. As we all know, ಪರಿಸರಕ್ಕೆ ಮೌಲ್ಯ ಮಾಡಲಿಕ್ಕೆ ಹಲವಾರು ರೀತಿಯಲ್ಲಿ mankind is doing in all possible ways, and we blame each other. ಆ ಕಂಟ್ರಿನೇ ಜಾಸ್ತಿ, ಈ ಕಂಟ್ರಿನೇ ಜಾಸ್ತಿ, ಅವರೇ ಜಾಸ್ತಿ ಹಾಕೋದು, ಇವರೇ ಜಾಸ್ತಿ ಹಾಕೋದು ಅಂತ ಹೇಳ್ತಾರೆ. ಬಟ್ ಅಲ್ಟಿಮೇಟ್ಲಿ ದಿಸ್ dumping of toxic waste in the environment affects everybody, irrespective of whether who does it or whether who tries to protect it or whatever it is. It's a very, very important topic on which sir is going to talk with us. A brief introduction about sir was he heads the, he's been the Dean of Legal Studies at CMR University. Besides, he is also honorary member of Symbiosis School of Law, Pune, and he is the School of Studies of Symbiosis institutions, various other national law school universities, and he has also delivered lectures in our National Academy of Customs, Indirect Taxes and NACIN as a guest faculty. A vast experience over 40 years in the field of law, various fields of law, and ಅವರಿಂದ ನಾವು we have a lot of things which we are going to get from his wisdom and his knowledge. He's a luminary, and he has besides Karnataka is also in West Bengal National University of Judicial Sciences ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಕೂಡ ಅವರ ಕಾಂಟ್ರಿಬ್ಯೂಷನ್ಸ್ ಇದೆ. Besides National Assessment of Accreditation Council, NAAC, ಅದರಲ್ಲಿ ಕೂಡ ಅವರ ಇನ್ಪುಟ್ಸ್ ಅನ್ನು ತಗೊಂಡು ಮಾಡಿದ್ದಾರೆ. Above all, Government of India has honored him with his inputs on this legal aspects of various, including environmental studies. So our ಬಗ್ಗೆ ಹೇಳ್ಬೇಕಂತ ಹೋದ್ರೆ there will be a lot of things to talk about, sir. So without wasting much time, I extend a hearty warm welcome to our today's guest, Dr. Professor T.R. Subramanya sir, to share his experiences and introduce his insights into today's topic, that is the effects of toxic waste on environment. Over to you, sir. The stage is yours.
Yeah. Very good evening to all of you. Mr. R. Vasudevan and Kodandra and all the guests and dignitaries who are present here. Now, the issue of toxic waste came up, and it came to the fore in the 1980s. It came up to the fore in the 1980s for several obvious reasons. Colonialism had come to an end after 1950. Almost all the weak countries, poorer countries of Africa, Asia, and Latin America have become independent nations. But then colonialism has begun in another form, which is called the neo-colonialism. So in situations of this kind, what has happened was the developed countries where earlier the colonial masters started dumping their waste which are produced in their own backyard. And this became common with almost all the Western European countries, as well as the other developed countries of the West. So what has happened was, in a few cases, the Western European countries would enter into a contract with the African countries. They would enter into or engage African rulers, and they will pamper them, and afterwards take land on lease. And having taken lands on lease, they would dump the hazardous waste. And they keep dumping. What would happen is, over a period of time, the hazardous waste which are deadly and they are poisonous, and they are chemicals. And these poisonous chemicals start surfacing from the earth. And the result is unimaginable. So in such a situation, what has happened was all the African countries had to join together. Having joined together, they just protested the what we call is the character as well as the attitude of the West in dumping hazardous waste in the African continent. Now, before I speak of this, I just wanted to tell you hazardous substances have entered into the water we drink, the food we eat, the medicines that we take, and the air we breathe. So when I speak of this, nothing is left out today. And it is all hazardous components which are inside in our body. Even when we breathe, it enters into the body. Now, the World Research Foundation pointed out there were as many as 160,000 chemicals which were in transit and which are in circulation in the world. And of these, 160,000 million chemicals which are in the world, safety standards were available only for 1,180. The scholar who writes and expresses these points out, it will take another 100 years to cover at least 1 lakh. And to cover at least 1,80,000 or 60,000 million, it would take 150 years. By then, there will be 3 generations on Earth. The very purpose of telling this is there are no safety standards for the chemicals which we use. If at all it is available only for a few chemicals under the sun. I just intend to bring home a few of the instances that has taken place to you. I just pointed to you the food we eat, the water we drink, the air we breathe. I will give you one illustration on one subject so that you understand the point better. Now, what has happened was there was a plastic chemical corporation, which is known as the Hooker Company. This Hooker Company entered into a contract. It entered into a contract with the authorities of the Niagara Falls in the state of the United States. And having entered into an agreement with the Corporation of the Niagara Falls, it took the land for lease. And this land for lease was for a period of 12 years, that is for 1942 to 1954. So 1942 to 1954, it had dumped plastic waste as well as the chemical waste as well as medicinal waste into a ground which was taken on lease. And remember, at a later stage we came to know, and the discovery was revealed through some statistics that 21 million tons of hazardous waste were dumped into this area, which is inclusive of plastic waste, chemical waste, medical waste, and other waste as well. Now, what has happened was at the end of 1953, the Municipal Corporation of Niagara Falls requested the company, Hooker Company, to end the agreement, for which the company agreed. And when the company agreed, remember, the winding up proceedings took place through another agreement, wherein the company had to transfer the entire property to the Corporation of Niagara Falls. So when it transferred the property, a clause was inserted at the behest of the corporation, at the behest of the Richard Hooker. Now, what is this clause is all about? The clause is very simple. It simply stated that in future, when once the land is surrendered, if any allegation or if any complaint regarding the dumping of hazardous waste surfaces, the concerned corporation is not liable at all. So it claimed immunity, and this immunity was accepted by the owners of the property. Now, what has happened was immediately the Corporation of Niagara wanted to have a beautiful school. And in 1954, they started constructing the school. And thereafter, one fine morning, the school was constructed. There is a boarding house cell also. That also got over. They had a beautiful compound, and the school began. The school began after 3 or 4 years when everything got completed. And as and when the school began, the students started attending the school. On the first day, some of them suffered what we call as the headache. Second day, they suffered from giddiness. On the next week, they started suffering from vomiting. And the third week, they started getting diarrhea. And thereafterwards, what has happened was some of them got impending paralysis. Immediately.
So 1 second, sir. Jagannath sir, please mute yourself. Sir, please go ahead, sir.
Now, what has happened was when the school was opened and the students started attending, they started getting different types of diseases. And remember, some of them had their chromosomes completely destroyed. And remember, instantly there were some paralysis cases as well. Immediately, the Niagara Corporation ordered for an inquiry. And if it ordered for an inquiry, it came to know. Earlier, this was a dump site. And this was a dump site of a sport of just dumping hazardous chemicals and hazardous substances in the area. Immediately, the government of the United States started cleaning up the area. And it spent $100 million at that time to clean up the area. By then, remember, lots of people have lost their lives. So lots of people became disabled. Lots of people, remember, suffered from diseases for which identity could not be made at that time. Scientific advancement was not that much. So this is one instance which I just wanted to speak to you. Now, thereafter, the second instance happened to be an instance relating to the state of Iraq. Iraqi people, remember, are fond of importing barley from the state of United States. And this barley used to be shipped and used to be sent to the port of Iraq. And it used to come and they used to, you may ask me why barley was necessity for them. Remember, barley was used as a paste, and this paste was put inside the roti, which is called as caboose in the Arab countries. Caboose is a type of roti. And inside the roti, just like the masala dosa, they would paste this barley paste fully. And that was very tasty, it appears. And millions of tons of barley would come from the state of United States. And the moment the shipment comes, the government used to distribute this to the ration sources. Now, what has happened was, 1 year, the barley was sent. And this barley which was sent, it was distributed to the people. And afterwards, remember, on the very first day itself, the people who prepared the rotis along with the paste started getting dizziness and stomachache. Third day, there was diarrhea. Fourth day, nervous damage. Fifth day, remember, instant death. Several deaths have taken place. Then the government of Iraq immediately ordered for an inquiry. When they ordered for an inquiry, they came to know that the concerned barley was infected with the fungicide. Remember, fungus. And this affected fungicide, that is fungus, barley, was used by the people without knowing it. And the fungi actually contained contaminated, deadly, remember, elements which could not be discovered then. By then, at least 6,000 people have died because of taking these barley rotis. This is one instance which I just wanted to speak to you. Now, the other one happened to be an instance relating to what we call as the people who used to transport hazardous waste into another country. Now, this would take place through contractors or the buyers. So from the government department, they will buy, and remember, without certification, they would send it to the developing countries or the least developed countries. Now, what has happened was, there was one such instance, an instance relating to United States versus Northwest Recovery. Now, in this case, a particular company has engaged thousands of acres of land. And this was engaged thousands of acres of land only purpose of storing hazardous waste. Hazardous waste may be any type. And these were stored in a barrel of, remember, 55 liters. And there were as many as millions of barrels which were put in these acres of land. And all of them contaminated and hazardous waste. Hazardous waste of a serious type, not of a minor or any other ordinary type of waste. Now, one fine morning, what has happened was, because of some problem in a switch, the fire broke out. And when the fire broke out, and the entire drums which were kept, in each of them there were 55 liters. And these drums were about, remember, 10,000 or 50,000, we don't know how many. All of them exploded. And the writer gives a graphic picture. Some of the drums, when they exploded, they went 250 feet up. And the entire area, the land, the grass, and the contaminated mud and the groundwater, all of them got polluted and were polluted with the deadly dioxin. The United States immediately came to know of this. And when they came to know of this, remember, the company takes permission from the corporation. Having taken permission from the corporation, it shifts it to some other area in the same district. There they started storing it. And they said it is very efficient, nothing will happen. But one fine morning, there also caught fire. And after getting fire, remember, everything got damaged. And the writer says there was a relic or a replica of as many as 5,000 drums, and which were lying on the land. Suppose, for example, in a battle, if people are killed or the equipments are, remember, disabled, how will appear? Like a war scene, it was available. And immediately the government of the United States ordered for an inquiry. When they ordered for an inquiry, they said it has contaminated the entire area. Contaminated the entire area with hazardous substances. Some of the substances could not even be discovered what type of it was. But then they used to say it had, remember, cadmium, lead, zinc, sulfur, and many other things. And to clean up the operation, the government of the United States must have spent more than $100 million. This is another case which has taken place in one of the states in the state of United States. Now, the third instance is, remember, the developed countries, they generate so much of waste. I can just tell you one statistics. A great writer on hazardous substances points out merely the European Council in the 1990s used to produce 100 million tons of waste. Remember, European Council means at that time there were about 16 countries. They used to produce 160 million tons of waste. And most of the countries are developed, and in their backward, they did not have what we call as the hazardous dump sites. In such a situation, what would they do? They will approach all the underground, the smugglers or some other people, and through them, they transport it to developing countries like Africa. And Africa became a victim of this. And most of it were, remember, dumped in the African continent. Now, in another case, what has happened was 4,000 tons of deadly dioxin was exported through ships to the state of Nigeria. And it came to the port of Konkan. When it came to the port, it was dumped and it was unloaded, and having unloaded, it was kept for a while. The entire vicinity of the port, Konkan, remember, ultimately became just like what we call as a savage empty land in just 2 months. And the air was completely polluted. Investigation started. At that time, people came to know, the government came to know, it came from Nigeria, and it was nothing but deadly dioxin. Immediately, investigation started. And when investigation started, they revealed the truth. And the Nigerian ambassador in the state of Italy was recalled. And Nigeria had a hell of time in, remember, dumping and cleaning up the entire area in these countries. Now, when these type of things, I can give you 10 illustrations because that will be repeating the same in a different form. But one illustration which is important I will give you. In the 1950s, the Japanese industrial waste used to be released into the Minamata Bay. And when this waste was released into the Minamata Bay, remember the entire bay, Minamata Bay, was infected with certain diseases and the discovery could not be made. That is why they say it is the Minamata disease. Now, when you may ask me, what is this Minamata disease? Now, Minamata disease will, when it injects into the body of a person, what would happen is, the calcium which is in the body will be completely worn out. And the concerned person's finger, if you touch, it will break. Hands you touch, it will break. Body which you will touch, it will become numb. So many thousands of people passed away. And thousands of people suffered from diseases which were unknown to humanity. That is what the effect of a Minamata disease. Then what has happened was there was a Zinzu River. And in the Zinzu River, not only industrial waste, but chemical waste was released. And the water was used by the poor people who are living on the side of the river, both sides of the river. And they got what we call as the Itai disease. Now, Itai disease is popularly called as it hurts, it hurts. That is the English translation. Itai disease, remember when they got, it resulted in diseases which are some of them yet to be discovered. That is the effect of hazardous substances, hazardous chemicals, and hazardous waste. Now, the last illustration happened to be an illustration relating to Guatemala, Latin American country, because how Latin American country was exploited. Now, 1 year in the state of Guatemala, the banana production came to a standstill. So the banana, it is popularly, Guatemala is considered as the banana republic, wherein they produce bananas and export it to European countries and United States. So when the crop fell sharply, the cabinet met. The cabinet having met, they said the concerned minister relating to environment and other agriculture should go to the state of United States and should meet a chemical company. And having met this company, they request them to prepare a particular spray. And this spray was prepared, and it was prepared by the company. They took 2 months to prepare it. And afterwards, remember, in beautiful, what we call as baggages, they were exported to Guatemala. When it reached Guatemala, there were people who wanted to buy this and spray this to the banana crop. It was distributed and they started spraying. Now they sprayed, the people of Guatemala sprayed it even without wearing clothes, proper clothes, and which did not come because protective clothes are very much essential. Even in India, we don't do it. Now what has happened was, remember, they sprayed, and thereafter the diseases are deadly. And some of them suffered from numbness. Some of them suffered from paralysis. Some of them suffer from, remember, brain damage. What type of diseases? If you read the article, remember, you will weep. And in such circumstances, an inquiry was constituted. When the inquiry was constituted, remember, the United States chemical company manufacturing, it is called the Capone, the name of the spray. It is this Capone, which was manufactured for the state of United States for Guatemala, was requested by the state of Guatemala. It was done at their request and their behest, and they paid for money for it, and you cannot make the corporation liable under any circumstances. With the result, imagine the loss that is being caused to the humanity, especially the human beings in the state of Guatemala. I just wanted to bring home one sociological incident as well. You may ask me, what is this sociological incident? There were 1,153 cases which came before the matrimonial court. And in these matrimonial court, 153 women wanted to have divorce from their husbands because the divorce have become impotent by making use of these chemicals. Imagine. So where it is and where it has reached. So these are certain instances which I just wanted to bring home. Now, what exactly the government, how did it control? The United Nations, how did it control? First is the African continent. By awareness, they met. All the 63 states convened a conference. In the conference, they met and discussed twice. And Daniel Arap Moi, the president of the state of Kenya. In Kenya, you have the United Nations Environment Program today, which is a specialized agency of the United Nations. Daniel Arap Moi of Kenya, he pointed out the conference, this is nothing but a toxic imperialism. They don't want to have hazardous waste dumping sites. And these developed countries never ever. They always wanted to say, remember, everything for us, waste is for you. Do whatever you want. It is nothing but garbage imperialism. These are the two words which is used by the great man. So this garbage imperialism which is practiced and followed and adhered by the developed countries must be stopped come what may. And all the African states joined together. They approached the United Nations Environment Program. Then they approached the United Nations and they requested the United Nations General Assembly to have a convention on hazardous wasting, the transboundary movement of hazardous waste convention. So initial discussion started taking place in the year 1986 itself. Real discussion started taking place in 1987. The first meeting was held in Addis Ababa. It is one of the capitals in Europe. And thereafter, the second was taken place in Geneva. And the third one has taken place in Caracas in Latin America. And the fourth one at what we call as in Switzerland. So after 4 or 5 conferences, they were able to adopt a convention, the Transboundary Movement Convention, Prevention of the Transboundary Movement of Hazardous Waste Convention in 1989, which was adopted in Basel in the state of Switzerland. Now, what exactly are the salient features of this? One weakness of the convention is defining hazardous waste was left to each individual state. What is hazardous waste in your country may not be in my country. And what is hazardous waste in third country may not be in the first country. So each state was allowed to define hazardous waste by themselves. That is the major weakness. But then the other weakness happened to be, major weakness is it did not follow and it did not allocate one enforcing agency of the convention. It did not have an enforcing mechanism. Now, with all said and done, the convention happened to be a good convention because 116 states participated and 105 states actually participated in the convention, and 30 of them, 5 of them on the last day, that is 1989, the convention concluded in the month of June. In the month of March, they signed the convention. Now, in transporting hazardous waste to another country is criminal. Hazardous waste cannot be transferred to another country without the permission of that state. Hazardous waste cannot be received by the receiving country unless it gives a permission in writing. And the other one is each country is supposed to have dumping sites. They were indirectly saying European states and other states, you have to have a dumping sites. And if you don't have dumping sites, we will not allow you. Then each of them, they have a secretariat there. Under the secretariat, each country, including the state of India, when it became a party, you should give the information. How much of hazardous waste is produced in your country? How many millions of hazardous waste on different categories are produced? And how many, what we call as dumping sites you have? And how do you dispose? How many of the permanent sites you have? How many temporary sites you have? What exactly the yardstick for disposing hazardous waste? And which is the law? If you have no law, when exactly you are going to have a law on this subject? So thereafter, remember, immediately the government of India passed the legislation. And the legislation came in. Remember, first one came in 2002, then came in 2011. And thereafter, in the year 2015, we have made hazardous waste rules. This is the basic, what we call as hazardous waste convention, which I just wanted to bring home and tell. Now, thereafter, now we go to, don't be under the impression that hazardous waste is the only waste we have. For a developing country like India, we have e-waste. Now, when we speak of e-waste, Remember, last year in 2023, an estimated 1.6 million tons of e-waste is produced in the state of India. And the government of India wanted to have a legislation on this subject. And for the first time, they said the legislation on hazardous waste should be made applicable to e-waste as well. So regarding the disposal of e-waste, for example, your mobile phones, your computers, your laptops, and any other thing which is considered, which come under the category of e-waste, remember, is plenty, because today most of them have not one, two mobiles, just like two cars. And in addition to that, you have computers, you have TV sets, you have telephones, you have everything made of technology. Although we have improved a lot in this area, but then what do you do with this hazardous waste when it cannot be used? And electric bulbs, tube lights, all of them come under. And if I start explaining this, the effect of this, remember, it is plenty, because it is put on the earth's surface. And the first thing is groundwater contamination. And the water, you cannot take it, and it cannot be purified also. Whatever, you can make an attempt to purify it, but the purification is not complete, and it is not worth drinkable as one. So the legislation for the first time came in the year 2015. And when the legislation came in the year 2015, most of them wanted to have a separate legislation for e-waste. So an attempt was made in 2012, but in 2022, a legislation was made. And this legislation is in force today regarding e-waste. So what it says is, first and foremost, the manufacturer himself should be made responsible. See, for example, in hazardous waste, as I just pointed it to you, today, after the amendment which has taken place, the generator, the disposer, and the transporter are equally liable. What do you mean by this? There will be equal liability for the generator, equal liability for the transporter, and the disposer as well. All the three are liable, and all of them will be punished, and all of them should pay compensation. But what would happen is, this matter also discussed, it will be very tough for people to understand. If the matter goes to a court in a developing country, there will be delay in the delivery of justice. The second thing is, not only there will be delay in the delivery of justice, because the compensation that is awarded is very cheap. So if they are going to, remember, 1 million compensation in America means it is calculated in dollars. 1 million in rupees means what? Only 10 lakhs. Nothing is going to happen, not beyond that. So they would love to pay this much. Both Australia as well as New Zealand and the state of Canada did not agree with this. They wanted to have absolute liability. And the compensation, principle of absolute liability and the principle of compensation should be huge, because they should not do it in future. These are certain things which came in. Now then, in the area of environment protection, you may be knowing the first conference has taken place in the year 1972. Somebody, sir, asked me to speak on Kyoto Protocol. So it was in the year 1972, a conference was convened, and this conference happened to be the Stockholm Conference. Now you may be interested to know why the Stockholm Conference was called. The Stockholm Conference was called because the Commission for Environment and Development has realized that the world environment is depleting day by day. In order to restore the environment, what should be done? So for this purpose, remember, they prepared a questionnaire. And when they prepared a questionnaire, I will just tell you what were the questions that were put. The first one is, how much area of forest is covered in your state? How many acres, how many hectares of land? And then what type of special species you have in your country? And how many of them when you became independent? How many have disappeared and how many of them are extinct? What are the resources we have, which is called in plenty? Maybe fishery resources, animal resources, tiger resources, lion resources, peacocks, whatever. They asked statistics for everything. So when they gave the reply or gave the questionnaire, all states were asked to reply. And they received replies from 112 states. Afterwards, the conference was convened at Stockholm. When they opened up and they started telling the story, it was palpable. Everyone was worried because half of the remember species have extinct, and some of them have disappeared. And in such a situation, they thought that if it is not, remember, nourished and cherished and conserved, what would happen? The whole, remember, the world will go. Water resources will come down. So with the result, one, conservation is very much essential. And conservation must be done for the future generations as well, not for the present, as well as the future generation and the generation after. So for the first time in Article 2, it spoke about the concept of sustainable development. Then it said effort should be taken to improve the environment through international agencies. Thereafter, under the Convention of the Law of the Sea of 1982, they pointed out, remember, it is the duty of all states to conserve the sea and to see that the resources which are going to be extinct are conserved with care. And the world advanced scientific research community should come forward to give assistance to this. So these are some of the things which are being spoken under the convention and under the Declaration of Human Environment, which has taken place in the year 1972 from June 1st to June 15th. Thereafterwards, remember, several other conventions were adopted. One convention happened with the Vienna Convention of the Ozone Layer of 1985. And thereafter, they adopted a protocol to the ozone layer of 1985 in 1987. Now, these are adopted to see that the release of fluorochlorocarbons are stopped, come what may. When I speak about the release of fluorochlorocarbons, remember, they came to know that there is an ultraviolet rays which is hitting the sun. And if this ultraviolet rays is released, remember, it will bring poison into the world. And this poison is good enough to kill everyone. So in order to regulate this, they said all the refrigerators as well as air conditioners should be free of CFC, fluorofluorocarbons. That is why when you go to the market in the fridge in the front line, they said CFC free, CFC free. So for this, they said technology must be given by the developed states. Developed states, when they have the technology of this kind to prevent this, they should be in a position to give a helping hand to the developing nations to stop the release of CFCs in their air conditioners and refrigerators. That is what the Vienna Convention on the Ozone Layer pointed out in 1985 and the subsequent protocol. In the year 1985, I will say you, Madam Brundtland, the president of the state of Norway, remember, was asked to give a report as the chairman of the Commission of Environment Juries. Now, she gave a report which is known as Our Common Future. In the Our Common Future, remember, she harped upon the concept of sustainable development. She said sustainable development is very much essential. Even today in the universities also we speak about administration through sustainable development. Though resources are scarce, this should not be used and this should be made available even the generations which come after us. All these concepts started and then came intergenerational equity. When I speak of intergenerational equity means the resources must be used by the present generation. It should be used by the next generation and the generation come after them. So that means what is a continuing concept. Intergenerational equity is a continuing concept. Every generation must be made available. You should not be in a position to show the picture of a land to our children, saying that these were alive when we are there. Now all of them have disappeared. All of them are taken by goons and they have sold their fingers in the market. No, that should not happen. We should conserve natures. We conserve biodiversity. All these things were spoken, and in 1987, they adopted an early communication notification. Now, what has happened was, I will give you a true picture of this. The dismemberment of Soviet Russia took place in 1986. And this has taken place when Gorbachev was the ruler or the president of the state of Soviet Russia. Now, he is the one who spoke about glasnost and perestroika. With the result, many states were earlier part of the state of Soviet Russia seceded and they joined the European Union. Now, at that time, what has happened was in Russia, so many states when they left. In Georgia, there is a state by name Georgia, an independent state. Most of the nuclear vessels and submarines were manufactured and kept there. These nuclear submarine vessels as well as vessels were kept on the coast. And thereafterwards, there was no service into this. Remember, it started releasing several chemicals which were dangerous to the environment. And they were releasing for years. And remember, the air mixed with these chemicals started flowing into the Scandinavian countries first. And the Scandinavian countries warned the state of Soviet Russia. Now, what is happening? And if everything were to come, if you don't prevent it, if you don't plug it, naturally our country will have a devastating effect. So, with the result, those countries warned the International Atomic Energy Agency. The International Atomic Energy Agency, having gone to the spot and committed an inquiry, they went to the extent of pointing out that there should be an early notification convention. What is this early notification convention? In the event of any danger to the environment, in the event of any threat to the environment, in the event of any, remember, subsequent act which is a threat to nature in the country, actually, the country affected by this should inform the other neighboring countries immediately. And it should not only inform the other neighboring countries, it should immediately inform the what we call as the International Atomic Energy Agency to overcome the problem. Thereafterwards, we come to the year 1982. In the year 1982, the World Charter for Nature was adopted. When the World Charter for Nature was adopted, they said, remember, the rise of sea level, the tsunamis that take place because of the disappearance of biodiversity. In almost all the states, remember, biodiversity is disappearing. And a natural result is the rise in the sea level. And this has to be regulated, biodiversity has to be conserved. And then came in the year 1992, what we call the Biological Diversity Convention. And the Biological Diversity Convention, which speaks, remember, biological diversity must not only be conserved, and remember, it should be tapped, and it should be shared on equitable basis, equitable principles. That is the three objectives that are being spoken under the Biodiversity Convention to see and prevent the rise in the sea level. In spite of this, rise in the sea level is taking place. And thereafterwards, there was another conference which is called the Rio Conference to celebrate the 20 years of the Stockholm Declaration. So to celebrate the 20 years of Stockholm Declaration, a convention, a conference was convened. And this conference has taken place at Rio de Janeiro in Argentina. And they convened 189 states participated. And thereafterwards, they adopted 27 principles. And when they speak about 27 principles, first and foremost, they spoke about the concept of sustainable development. They spoke about the encouragement by the scientific community. The third one, they spoke about the advancement of technology to the developing and the least developed countries to overcome these things. Thereafter, they said there should be the adoption of a climate change convention. And a climate change convention was adopted and it had 27 principles. I will speak only one principle now because of the paucity of time. Now, the important principle, which is very much essential to us, happen to be what we call as the no harm rule. What is this no harm rule? Now, no harm rule today has attained the status of customary rule of international law. When I speak about the no harm rule, first one is each state is sovereign. If a state is sovereign, it is independent. If an independent sovereign state has certain basic rights, remember there are some basic duties as well. Remember, you have the independent right to do what you want in your territory. But if you carry on in interfering with the sovereign rights of another state, remember, there will be liability and you are answerable and you are to, remember, clean up the operations that you have conducted. I will just tell you a beautiful case so that you understand the point better. Now, for example, Canada and the United States are neighboring countries. And the state of Canada had established a factory. And it had established a factory just by the borders of the state of the United States. This factory, which was established by the borders of the United States just within 11 kilometers, was releasing, remember, what we call as the hydra carbon material, zinc, lead, sulfur. These are the three things which are released. And remember, the zinc, lead, and sulfur, they are released naturally, would go through the steam engine and would go to the borders of the state of Canada and enter into the Columbian River Valley. From the Columbian River Valley, it will go to the state of Washington. Having gone to the state of Washington, it destroyed, remember, timber, destroyed fisheries resources, it destroyed agriculture, it destroyed, remember, many things. At that time, the state of United States came to know about it after a few years. What is happening now? We are living in peacetime. And in this peacetime, it can happen means what? There is nobody to control. It calls the state of Canada and asks, what is this? Immediately, a departmental inquiry between the two departments of states takes place, wherein the state of Canada agrees not to repeat. But then it continued, and in the year 1936-37, the matter was referred to arbitration, wherein the state of Canada was made to pay for the damages which was caused to the environment of the state of United States. Now, that is what I just wanted to say. States are sovereign. But then this act of sovereignty should not interfere with the rights of another state wherein it can infringe the sovereignty of that state. If you infringe, naturally there will be liability in international law and you are answerable and you are liable. This is what it stated. Now the same analogy is applicable here also. Now, thereafterwards, after the Rio Declaration, we adopted these 27 principles. The conference of the parties, they were asked to meet again for the adoption of a climate change convention on climate change over the years. Now, what has happened was in the year 1997, in furtherance of the 1992 conference, a protocol and later is listed in the form of a convention was adopted. It was adopted in Japan, Kyoto Protocol. Now, what exactly are the salient features of this Kyoto Protocol? Now, first and foremost, they were saying development of clean energy. In order to develop clean energy, you have to have clean mechanism. And if you don't have clean mechanism to overcome the release of hazardous dumping, hazardous waste, and hazardous whatever you have, remember, it will go on and it will continue and it has to be stopped. And those who are, remember, implementing machineries in their environment, in their factories, and releasing a lesser number of required limit, they will be given what we call as a tax credit in this. That was what has taken place in the Kyoto Protocol. But then the Kyoto Protocol is not complete. They wanted to have some other protocols as well. In the year 2000, in continuation of the Kyoto Protocol, they adopted another protocol. It is called as the Cartagena Protocol. And the Cartagena Protocol, again, to have clean energy and clean environment and use of solar power. All of them came at that time. Now we have Solar Association, Solar Understanding, and the government of India is spending $300 billion, remember, for the use of solar energy up to 2030. All these, remember, discussed by the state of India. And the conference of the parties used to take place from 1992 to almost 2015. It was in the year 2015, every year. And India has contributed much to the Climate Change Convention. Not only it contributed because some of the proposals were proposed by the state of India have been accepted in majority. Now, Climate Change Convention was signed and the convention came into force in the year 2016. In between, in the year 2010, they adopted a Nagoya Protocol. Nagoya Protocol came into force in the year 2014. And the next year, Climate Change Convention was signed and it came into force in 2015, as I said. Now, what exactly are the salient features of the Climate Change Convention? Now, the Climate Change Convention simply speaks about, remember, preservation of the environment. Environment should be clean, it should be sound, it should be free from pollution, it should be free from hazardous effect. And remember, when you, in the matter of related to environment goes to the court of law, even the Supreme Court of India pointed out, remember, right to life, right to free from, right to live in a free, polluted area, and right to food, right to medicine. These are all fundamental rights under the right to life, under Article 21 of the Constitution of India. No, this was not there. And when the matter came before the Supreme Court of India, in Sachidananda Pandey versus State of West Bengal, and in Subhash Kumar versus State of Bihar, they pointed out man has the right to live in a free from pollution environment. And this has to be protected come what may. And there are plenty of cases, and if you have many other important things, I shall be in a position to point out. But the Climate Change Convention, and under this, the State of India has made several commitments. Now, what commitment the State of India has made to improve its environment? See, the major drawback in the State of India is we have been using what we call as carbon fossil fuel. Especially in the railways, we use fossil fuel. And this fossil fuel naturally releases so much of carbon into the environment. And railways in India is a huge industry and was releasing so much of carbon into this. Although we are in the 6th place, the state of China is the highest releaser with 28%. The state of United States is 16% releases. And the European theater, the entire European Council releases 10%. In the state of India, only 6%.
6%.
How do you reduce? So to overcome the release of carbon, fossil fuels, and make less use of coal, the government of India has promised that it will spend so much of money. One is, remember, to produce 100 gigawatts of energy through solar power. The second one is to release 50 megawatts of power through wind energy. And to release, to create and generate 10 gigawatts of power through alternative energy sources. When I speak about alternative energy sources, one is happen to be wind energy. After the wind energy, then comes what we call as hydroelectric projects. So this is the commitment which is made. And by 2030, we'll say we'll almost reduce 50% of the carbons which are released into the environment, for which we are making so much of commitment. Recently, there was a conference which has taken place in United Arab Emirates in Abu Dhabi, wherein almost all the states have participated, and wherein they requested the state of India as well as participants requested the state of India as well as the state of China to increase the money for the reduction of what we call as fossil fuels into the environment. The government of India as well as the state of China refused. They said it is not possible because India has made a commitment to the tune of $300 billion. And that is a serious amount, and we cannot allocate more than this money. And we are sincerely implementing this. These are some of the things which I just wanted to highlight. And as somebody pointed out, plastic waste, and then industrial waste, then chemical waste, waste related to food, all of them are part of this, and we have rules as well. And if I go to the health ministry, if you speak about the health ministry, they'll also have hygienic food, which has to be supplied, and it has to be tested. It has to be kept in a formal environment-free go down. All these are there under Article 46 of the Constitution of India. Thank you. If you have any questions, I shall answer.
We are very happy. The way you explained us with so much of
So beautifully.
It's really wonderful. There are some important listeners that have come. One of them is Professor Dr. Jagannatha from Visro, Venkatram. He is also an expert in environment. He is present very much to listen to our professor. And we have Shivappa Notegar, our NCC person from our colleges. And there is our Sujit sir, Additional Commissioner, who is listening. And there are a lot of others who have been very curious to listen to it. Now I ask Vasudevan to take it forward.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir. it's a vast subject. Sir was able to tell us most of the most important things on a macro level. A micro level, if you take in India also, very famous case which we cannot forget in our living memory is December 3rd, 1984. Methyl isocyanate gas leak in the middle of night at Bhopal, Union Carbide, where over 2,000 people, innocent people, lost their lives. Nobody knew that Union Carbide factory was storing this methyl isocyanate, which is intermediate chemical, because it has to be converted into some other chemical before becoming a fertilizer. But due to a valve mistake, which was not maintained properly, around 2 o'clock in the night, there was a leakage, and the railway men and the factory men, they all tried, but Mr. Warren Anderson was the CEO, he ran away. The responsibility was not there. Of course, I'm not going with the political nitty-gritty, but then that was the case. And we had also some cases in Kerala and Thoothukudi where fish, people, young children eating fish due to mercury, methyl mercury poisoning, similar to Minimata disease. Their limbs became very stiff, and their central nervous system got affected. And then they detected, and the mercury poison was also brought to control. And the third one is one of my family relatives was a scientist who is no more. Dr. Venkatavadu was a Nehru Planetarium director. In Tamil Nadu, you know, there is a thermal power plant in Tuticorin.
Yeah.
Both the state government and the central government wanted to have thorium thorium ore to be taken from the land. But he was one of the scientists who differed with the committee because, in fact, he's a contemporary of Abdul Kalam. He said that where there is a thermal power plant, which is exothermic, you are not supposed to do extract ore of thorium, because that again is going to create a lot of irreversible environmental damages. So that is why as an industry, if I'm an industry, I'm taking applying for a license, becomes a responsibility of the government to go through all the nitty-gritties of before giving the clearance, environmental clearance to start any factory, because the effect will be very colossal. Our professor gave a wonderful talk. It was I was really really spellbound. So anybody else who would like to interact with the professor? So thank you, sir. Anybody else can talk can directly interact. Bharatraj sir, would you like to?
It was self-explanatory, and all points were explained in detail, and we got a lot of awareness. So no more questions. We have to introspect ourselves, how to protect environment. So he has given us guidance and awareness.
Conventional methods of agriculture and organic farming and all those things are also there.
First let us learn how to immerse a Ganesha idol.
Exactly.
Very, very common issue.
Very common issue. Simple. At home.
Say, the government of India, especially the Supreme Court of India, has developed a jurisprudence of its own.
Yes, sir.
There are, to be very frank, if at all environment is protected today, it is because of the decisions of the Supreme Court.
Yes, sir.
The Supreme Court of India has acted in 3 dimensions. One is it is the educator, and the second one is it is the law enforcer, and it is the public policy maker.
Exactly.
See, for example, it is the Supreme Court of India in one of the cases when it came before the Supreme Court pointed out there shall be environmental education which has to be introduced in the primary level itself.
Yes.
Then there will be courses, and there are videos should be shown to the children when they come to the secondary level, and awareness should be followed. And the university should offer courses in the area of environment. And today we have LLM in the area of environmental law itself in several universities. This is one. Then law enforcer. Now, when I speak of law enforcer, there are several decisions which came before the Supreme Court. I will just tell you 1 or 2 cases briefly, as far as possible. Now, one happened to be Damodar versus Union of India, the Municipal Corporation of Hyderabad. In Damodar versus Municipal Corporation of Hyderabad, certain areas were allocated by the Municipal Corporation of Hyderabad to have a beautiful greenery garden. And it should be a permanent visiting place for the pensioners in the evening as well as in the morning for purpose of walk or purpose of staying there and to enjoy green air. Now, as and when it was allocated, two organizations come to the spot, they appear into the picture. One happened to be the Life Insurance Corporation of India and the other one, the Income Tax Department. They wanted to have, remember, a society where they wanted to have construction of flats for them. These two organizations, LIC as well as Income Tax Department. The matter was challenged by Damodar and it went to the High Court and later to Supreme Court. The Supreme Court said the objective is to see the environment should be green. And most of the people and the schools are in the area. And these areas must be kept free from pollution and free from other buildings and all. And the purpose for which it is done cannot be, remember, ignored. And they said the act is null and void. This is one. And another case happened to be BL Vadhera versus Union of India. Whenever environmental cases used to go before the Supreme Court or before the High Court, always the government officials would plead that we don't have adequate staff. We don't have money. Money is not forthcoming from the government to have or what you are saying. And at that time, the Supreme Court, having heard the argument patiently, they said, no money, no employees is not the plea before the Supreme Court of India. It is the concerned person who is the head. He should be in a position to take the money, approach the government, and ultimately should be in a position to implement this. Never ever we will accept this kind of plea. So that was a major decision. And thereafterwards, the third decision happened to be a decision wherein whenever notice is given, if the what we call as the owners of the factories who release hazardous substances and hazardous gas, if they don't listen, first and foremost, stop the supply of electricity, and if they don't adhere to, then stop water, and then close down the factory. All in decisions which have given by the there is a jurisprudence of it. It will take more than 1 hour, at least 1 hour. It will take if I start explaining which principle, how it is, and that is why. Then, as I said, law enforcer. Then, as a public figure, see, in Jagannath versus Union of India happened to be a beautiful case which came before the Supreme Court of India in 1996. So, in this case, what the Supreme Court has done is it directed the authorities to use lead-free petrol. Unleaded petrol is good if there is the unleaded petrol should be used. Because most of the petrol which contained, remember, lead, which is deadly, it is dangerous, and it is dangerous to human health as well as the environment. So this directive had to be adhered and the guilty will be punished. That is how environment is being enforced in this country. Environmental law is enforced. There are rules, regulations. But then what happens is pressure is also more on the government.
What you said is true, sir. Our Supreme Court of India, more than executives and legislature, is fighting for preserving our environment. I do 100% agree. But on the practical side, things are not happening because most of the things are handled by the influential politicians for petty gains, for commercial gains. Even one study I did, sir, as the number of laws started, including multilateral agreements, international laws, and Indian laws, more is the contamination today we are seeing. In other words, laws and the principles which we are making, they are oriented towards preserving the human interest rather than the environmental interest. Some of the Supreme Court judgments which you said, I always remember, even in one case from Kerala, they went to the extent of protecting the life of an animal like lion is Article 21. It also has right to live. So to that extent, it has been gone. But judiciary is delivering decisions, including Ganga cleaning project and so many other projects.
Correct,
But
correct.
most of the culprits here are all influential. You see the water bodies in Bangalore disappearing in no time. How many water bodies our developers that Kempegoda and they built. In every village, in every place, in every locality, you had a river. You
Water
had
body.
a water body. You have a water tank. All of them have disappeared. Who is the owner of it today?
See,
If you look in,
since you made the statement,
Yeah.
there was a case which came up before the Supreme Court. It is called as the Research Foundation case. The Research Foundation case is name of the case is Research Foundation case. Now, in this case, with nobody, no teacher also knows about it, but it is one of the unless you make a study. In this case, what has happened was Vandana Shiva brought a petition under Article 32 of the Constitution of India by special leave to the Supreme Court of India. Now, she was telling the Basel Convention of 1989 on the transfrontier movement of hazardous waste has become the law to India because it has ratified the treaty. Even after the ratification of the treaty, remember how the OECD countries, Organization of Economic Cooperation and Development, all rich countries are exporting hazardous waste without the consent of the state of India. How it is possible? Whether the government of India has given it in writing to export to these European states to hazardous waste, how it is possible? Now, immediately the government of India, what has happened was it called the Ministry of Environment and Forests, and having called them, remember, he said we appoint a committee, and this committee should consist of eminent people. So Dr. M.G.K. Menon became the chairman of this committee. And along with the other 6 others, the committee was constituted. And this committee was entrusted with the 14 tasks. And 14 tasks is related to hazardous waste. What improvement can be brought under this legislation, hazardous waste dumping, and how dumping site should be, and how much it would be, what is the scientific dumping ground, what is a small dumping ground, what is its width, what is its breadth, and where it should be put up. All matters were discussed, and he took 4 years to submit the report. They have visited almost all the factories. And the report runs into 1,200 pages. I just wanted to speak to you from the report. He was saying that till 1997, India did not have a dumping ground at all. And industrialization was taking place ruthlessly. It was taking place. Remember, all Rourkela, Bhilai, all of Durgapur, all of them, remember, have come and it was functioning, and several others came. Tatas came, Rusis came, Modis came, Mafatlals came, all of them. So, in spite of this, there was not a single dumping ground which was established in India. And there were dumping grounds which were, remember, created for a temporary purpose. And the dumping grounds which were small dumping grounds which were created for a temporary purpose was used for permanent purpose at a later stage. And most of these dumping grounds were overflowing. And some of them, remember, are created somewhere in the downhill, on the down of the road. So that when it becomes full, the entire waste goes, and remember, goes to the road, and it will be in some corner and giving nasty smell and creating diseases which are not even known to the Indian humanity. That is the fate. And then, while speaking about administration, he was saying that most of the people who are appointed in the offices are not qualified people. It is a hard fact. You can understand. You may be knowing better than me. They are not qualified people. And these are the people who know nothing about science. They don't know anything about technology, and who run the administration, who don't listen to anybody. And he was praising only the state of Telangana and the state of Gujarat. To a certain extent, in these 2 states, it is enforced very strictly. There are many other things, because that report itself I have the report here only. So it will take, if I start reading, you will come to know many horrors. And a part of the report has become part of the judgment also. Yes, Agarwal and Sabharwal, who was the Chief Justice of India, they are the ones who gave the judgment in the year 2011. And that judgment came in. pointed out. And there is one more case which is known as the Birchi case. Birchi case happened to be, see, H acid, which is used to put color on clothes. And this H acid was abandoned by most of the European countries. When the production of it was, remember, stopped in the European countries, China and India wanted to have a trade on it. So India established several companies which would produce H acid. China also did. One such H acid producing company was established in Birchi in the district of Udaipur in the state of Rajasthan. And it started producing, remember, H acid for a purpose of putting color into the clothes. And what has happened was in 15 days, the entire water contaminated. Then it percolated to the groundwater. Groundwater, remember, started getting like red. First they thought that it is giving a good taste, then afterwards it was a poison. Then the people started shouting, wherever you go, it is red only. Red is the color of the blood. So they started going to, they met the deputy commissioner, the deputy commissioner called a meeting, then there was a dharna, then there was a public protest, then the protest went to Delhi, there was a march, then the Prime Minister consoled them, then he asked the Environment Ministry of Rajasthan as well as the Environment Ministry of India to go to the spot. Then the Environment Ministry of India asked two universities to conduct a study. One happened to be the IIT of Roorkee and the second one happened to be Aligarh University to produce a report. They found out it is a very serious matter and the factory should be closed. Factory was not closing and they will pay compensation. Then thereafterwards, remember, Supreme Court appointed a committee. The committee had to go to the spot and the factories were to be closed. But to close the factories, remember, the petition went in 1989. Factories was closed only in 1995. And they have established factories in the neighboring districts. This was what was going on. And ultimately, the Supreme Court said 44 crores of rupees had to be paid by way of damages. This environmental law in this country. That is why I said in the beginning, because of the Supreme Court, some semblance of environmental law is here. But for it, remember, you can imagine, you will be the better people to understand.
There is a question by our Professor Dr. Jagannatha Venkatramaya, who was a ISRO scientist, retired now. He's an expert. He has raised his hand. Sir, you can unmute yourself and speak, sir.
Sir, let me take a few, not few minutes because already it is 8:45. At the outset, I would like to thank Kodandaram because he is for me Bhagavad Ramanujacharya. You see, I'm a spiritual man because you may be surprised as a ISRO. I have completed the first year MA in Sanskrit University yesterday. Sir, let me tell you, your presentation is a very good lecture material for students, researchers, and interested. I have one or two points to tell what NASIM can do, what Sambhashane can do. Before that, I want to preempt request one of my junior colleague at the Pollution Control Board. He's in the meeting. He is one Mahesh T. Right now, he's heading EMPRI. EMPRI in Karnataka is the Policy Research Institute. And he's going to give a quick response for a minute. Then I'll come back, sir. Mahesh, could you kindly join?
Yes, sir. Good evening, sir.
Welcome, sir. Please.
Welcome.
Yeah. Thank you, Jagannath, sir, for giving an opportunity to join this, enlightened group. Actually, I was informed at the nth moment about this program. I am very fortunate to be with you, sir. Actually, it was an excellent, presentation by sir and all of you. In fact, I served in State Pollution Control Board for nearly 35 years. And I could, imagine or visualize the kind of, study or the research undertaken by sir. Actually, he has, put the things in perspective. what developments have taken place at the international level, at the national level, especially Honorable Supreme Court judgments, very important things like precautionary principle, pay principle. These are all very, very relevant at this point of time and in the coming days also, actually. Just to mention that I after completing my 35 years of service in pollution control board, in fact we are trying to address the environmental issues through an institute called Environmental Management Policy Research Institute. Uh, so this institute primarily addresses the training, capacity building, and undertake a lot of environment related studies for the both government and non-governmental organizations. Sir, actually, it is located in Bangalore, in JP Nagar, actually, and coming under the Department of Forest Ecology and Environment. So definitely, the whatever sir has presented, these aspects have been taken into consideration during the course of the implementation of various programs. Actually, for example, few things I just would like to mention because of paucity of time. One important thing is this climate action plan. Actually, plan has been prepared for the state of Karnataka. Which has got about 300 points, actually action points, and we have covered about 15 significant departments where they identified the key performance indicators. Actually, now after approval by the Government of India in 2024 February, this action plan is put into implementation. Actually, now for another 5 years this action plan is monitored and evaluated on a regular basis, so that whatever key performance indicators are given by the departments, say for example energy department, agriculture, horticulture, animal husbandry, then urban development, rural development, all the important significant department who are having a contribution towards the climate impacts, they have been included in this action plan, and these things are
Maheshji, we are very, very
monitored at
happy.
the up.
Maheshji, I will have
Sir.
full force session to you. How are
Yeah,
you
thank
placed
you, sir.
next Thursday? That will be very ideal because
Yeah,
we
sir.
want to get the local matters so that we can act together.
All will know.
I will provide a
Definitely, sir.
full-fledged
Definitely.
1 hour for our Maheshji. We will listen
Yeah,
to
thank
your
you,
points, sir. Today there's a
Yeah,
paucity of time. We will go back
yes,
to
sir.
Jagannath, and
Yes, sir.
today we will conclude. Next
Yes, sir.
session will be yours. How are you placed next Thursday? Kindly inform me, sir. We will
Okay,
take it up. We are
thank you
more
very
than
much.
happy to listen to
Yeah,
you
one
and accommodate such great institutions into
thank
our
you, sir.
forum.
Actually, yeah, this is a very enlightening TR Subramanian sir and all of you, sir, actually,
Yeah.
because
T.R.
worked
Subramaniam
in
is an
pollution control board
environmental
for,
guru from last 30 years.
yeah,
Though I have not
I
studied the
was wondering,
environment, I have been
yeah,
sending my articles to him. He has been giving me a lot of things. In fact, he is like a environmental master. Whenever we want some issues on green customs and customs inter-transboundary movements, he is the man who came to our aid. We will
definitely,
get
sir.
Mahesh also in the coming. Jagannath sir, please. Last few words
Okay.
so that we will conclude.
Okay. Mine will be less than a minute if I'm right. Please bear with me.
We are planning for one more full program. Our
Yeah.
Narayan Swami sir also has told us.
Actually, Mahesh sir, many thanks. You are always forthcoming. Just few minutes. I was about to go out to bring something my wife wanted doing. Then Kodandaram voice made me to stay back. I did a good thing. ಅವರೆಕಾಳು ಎಳೆದ್ಬಿಟ್ಟು ಕೂತಿದ್ದೀನಿ ಈಗ. So what I want to see, this is how I use my webinar time with WHO or UN. Sir, a few observations I want to make.
Yeah.
Subramanya sir, I will not touch upon the positive things. I'll touch upon the negative things. In your presentation, these things will be of use. What is it? While tracing the history of hazardous waste management, you are absolutely right. Step by step, you identify the developments. But one point you missed. That is, the hazardous management in reality, because I was in the roster of experts of SBC UNEP in 95. I visited SBC also in Geneva, the office is there. Secretariat Basel Convention. Even the name is Basel, it is in Geneva actually. A couple of times I went there, 95, 97, 99, like this, and I had a good intimate relationship. So what I would like to suggest is you missed a point that compliance to hazardous waste management, especially transboundary hazardous waste management, is non-compliance because the signatory states are not coming out with definite action once the problems are identified. For example, let me tell you, when Greenpeace identified mixing of copper sulfate waste in the food supply to Bangladesh, you see, a time was there when US did not sign for the Basel Convention in late 90s. I was a part of that Basel Convention, I tell you. So that is one. The second one is now they are coming in line and they are signed and all those things. And the good thing is, Samprabha has a very good news because February in Bengaluru, an Indo-US workshop is proposed to be held on hazardous waste management. And it's a time that the Indian domain, Indian management expertise available will be taken to the global level. That is one observation. What you did not mention was the compliance status, how the states, Ethiopia you mentioned right, and Nigeria you mentioned right. But the issue is non-compliance reports of the Secretariat Basel Conventions are available in the web. You see, that will greatly add your presentation. It will become very academic and research oriented. First point. The second point is hazardous waste management, as somebody rightly pointed out, Vasudevan sir or somebody. See, basically, it is not away the home, away the community. No, it is a part of the community. Today, in our home, for the past years, we never mix the wet waste with the dry waste. And we have a biogas plant. And recently, we went for a PM Sauragruha. 300 days old now. What is happening? What our Prime Minister has told recently is very important. Unless we make our lifestyle conducive to environment, no global law or regulator can help. I'm having a situation wherever I go out of the home, in my bag, there will be a plate, there will be a spoon, there will be a cup, there will be 2 TDS and pH meter to measure the water quality. It's a part of my armor. It's a part of my decoration in my body. I don't mind going naked, but I want to go with these things. Point is, what I'm telling you, as a lifestyle, if you do not will, spiritually will be weaker. Once we are spiritually weak, nothing can be done. So this is the second point I want to tell. Samprabha can promote the good practices at individual level, household level, ward level, because Mahesh, if time was given, probably next time when he presents even, at a household level, how to collect the e-waste. It's an active program.
Yeah, sir, we
The
assure you to have Mahesh again with full-fledged
the
program.
third and the last point, sir,
Be quick,
Bhagavad
sir.
Amanadacharya, sir, I want to tell you, the third and the last point I want to tell you, there is a good prospect of senior-most retired NASIN employees to be a part of SBC, transboundary hazardous waste management, because you are dealing with economics and legal aspect and you are the forerunner. Nan prakara, if you tell in Kannada, Ashwamedha Yagada Kudra new. If Indian government leaves the Ashwamedha Yaga horse, all the countries will fall in line. Just 2 days back, President of India mentioned about the Solar Alliance. Today, PM has mentioned in Mumbai, the maritime, how India is doing wonderful work in maritime. It's in the maritime, the e-waste comes from New York. It comes into the various Gujarat ports and people take it because we have become the dumping yards.
Yes.
So what I want to, the third and the last point I would like to tell you, expertise available in the export and import. NASIN can do wonderful work. I think that way Parasamudram BRICS is a wonderful hub for this sort of trainings and enormous research. In fact, I was very fortunate to mention to our Narayanaswamy sir, way back in 90s, sir, why don't you become a part of SBC Secretariat Basel Convention? This is what I mentioned to him. Because wildlife traffic is going on. More severe than the human trafficking. More severe than the drug trafficking. Because biodiversity, as you rightly pointed out, if you miss biodiversity, where do you live? Sir, in
Sorry
summary,
for disturbing, sir. It's getting
in
late.
summary,
Let's not make
in
professor
summary, in
wait
summary,
for
I
you.
want to close. In summary, I want to close by saying that there is a very good presentation, technically, legally, and a lot of research potential. And you spoke to me like any good speaker does in the UN. You see, that sort of a vision is very much required because you are our leader now. The
Yes.
last point is Nasin, Sambrahma, Sambhashane should be an opportunity to bring more people like Mahesh. There are many good number of people who are really working on it, academically, research, and management. So many thanks,
Thank you,
sir.
sir.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Sir,
sir.
thank I on behalf of our Sambhashane group and Samprabha and on behalf of our president, I humbly thank my guru, Subramanya sir. We are going to have a lot of such lecture series. One person is a Led Venkatesh. I'm trying to catch him. He is moving away from country to country. So
He's from
such
St.
kind
John's.
of people.
You know,
Yeah, St.
St.
John's
John's.
professor. I'm trying to
He's
get him.
working
He's
on
the
lead
first
for a
man
long time now.
responsible to remove
Lead.
lead from petrol. So such wizards
Spark,
and also
you are
our
heading
Mahesh
Spark,
team
we need to
get in
conduct
touch.
trekkings.
Yes,
Spark
we
at
will try
Jayanagar.
to do more work towards environmental protection so that our future generation is
You
in
should
safe.
not forget Menaka Gandhi, Mrs. Menaka Gandhi, who was
Yeah.
instrumental in
Versus,
removing the lead from
yes.
gasoline.
Sir,
Because,
once we start
as
talking on
Sir rightly
environment,
pointed out,
there
since
is no end.
1970s,
Yeah.
Mehta is one person who has gone to Supreme
Yeah.
Court so many times, n
Almost
number
all
of
the
times.
cases are saying Mehta versus Union of India.
Yes.
Whatever it is. Sir, with this, I thank everyone. Sorry for due to shortage of time, we have to go. We have a lot of people who are anxious to speak, but we don't have time. We shall again have each one of them in different talks.
My
Kindly
apologies for
cooperate with
using
us and
Ramanujacharya.
give-
You're doing the work of
Thank you, sir.
Ramanujacharya. Please go ahead, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
May God
Thank you.
bless
Thank you,
everyone.
sir.
Good night, sir.
Thank you. Thank you, sir.
Good night. Good night. Good night.
Good night.
Thanks, Mahesh. Thanks for coming.
Thank you, Jagannath sir, for actually.
No, you're always there. You deserve everything, sir. Thanks.
Thank you very much.